Hello team and welcome back to another Line War cast. This is your map today. It is a 3v3 on Alpha Team Kartoffelman in blue, Snow Angel in red, and Tomahawk in orange. And on Bravo Team Barracuda in teal. Someone said that my nickname sucks in pink. And Snow Miser in green. Alpha Team can spawn in all the different places that are blue right now. We see that Tomahawk's picked the far left. This is Snow Angel in red. And then Kartoffelman in the kind of central southern location. On Bravo Team, there's two players that have spawned on the right-hand side. It's Barracuda and Nickname. And Snow Miser is off by themselves on the left-hand side of the map and kind of surrounded by these three Alpha Team players. So it'll be kind of, at the start of the game, what it looks like is it'll depend on how quickly these two teammates from Bravo Team can get over to the left-hand side to support Snow Miser, who's going to find themselves in a very fierce battle against Tomahawk. So even just to fight off Tomahawk is going to be a relatively big ask, and there's no airports or docks for Red that can help out. And there's no airports or docks for Kartoffelman that can help out Tomahawk either. So Snow Miser at least will be in a 1v1 for a little bit. And then obviously it'll take a long time for Red's units to go around the top and then get involved in this fight, which is starting at the moment. It's going to be 4 factories and 3 barracks for Tomahawk against 2 factories, 3 barracks, and an industry for Snow Miser. The nice thing for Green here is that they have this mountain range, which is a great defensive setup if Green decides to dig in on the edge of the mountains to buy some more time and eco up behind this, because it's going to be a very dedicated push from Orange here. And obviously they have the factory advantage with 4 factories against 2, as mentioned. So we'll see how long Snow Miser can hold out here. Red's going for 4 factory, 3 barracks, and Blue's got a town, 3 factories and 2 barracks, and an industry in the back. So Nickname is going to get into a little bit of a fight with Blue probably. And then we'll likely see Barracuda get into a little bit of a fight with Snow Angel here. Nickname's gone for 2 towns, one of which was pre-constructed, a dock, 2 factories, and 2 barracks. Barracuda with the only airport in the game of all the players, making helicopters, 2 factories, a town, first refinery on the way, and a barracks. And Red and Blue are going to make it really difficult for Nickname to get over here to help out Snow Miser. And we've seen a lot of, in team games a lot, if one player gets knocked out immediately, it becomes very difficult for the team to get back into the game. Orange is pressuring this rightmost barracks and also this industry. Will likely get the industry. It is on fire. Still doing the mining site. Never mind. Blows up now. And at this point, it's a little bit too late for Green to be digging in. There's a 3rd factory on the way, which I think is the right call for Snow Miser here, if there's any opportunity at all for them to hold off this Orange attack. And we can see just how slowly the Orange infantry move through this mountain range. It is entirely controlled by Green. These are all Green territories, I guess, except for this one. This part of the mountain range, Snow Miser won't move as quickly through, and that movement speed penalty that Orange gets for moving through mountains won't be as severe. But starting to pressure the first factory, there's a grouping of infantry here that will meat shield a little bit for the impending artillery push. And this is looking a little bit tough for Snow Miser. Hopefully that 3rd factory helps out a little bit. Nickname digs into this choke, so Blue won't be able to get through necessarily. This will, at the very least, slow Blue down from just pushing through onto Nickname's main base. And Pink is going to have a lot of economy off of these 2 towns. First cruisers coming out for Nickname, which will also help in this choke, since it will be able to shell all these Blue units as they approach the entrenchment. And first 2 helicopters are coming out now for Barracuda and about to get into the fight. Snow Angel's made decent progress in the north capping. And at the moment, Snow Miser's still holding on here. It's now about 5 green artillery pieces against 7 that are spread out for Tomahawk. And so Green's still got a little bit of time. The 3rd factory is online now, and there are artillery pieces. There's no helicopters for Alpha Team that can destroy Snow Miser here. If there was an airport that Bravo team had and was sending units over, it would put Snow Miser in an even more difficult position, because Green would have to at least take one of these factories and start building SAMs, and every SAM that is produced is one artillery piece that is not produced to handle this many orange artillery. The one factory goes down, so Green's now back to 2 factories. Kartoffelman is going to just yeet it into this defensive line. There's a good amount of artillery pieces in the second layer of defense for Nickname, so this will certainly over time work out for Pink at this point. I think there's enough of a defensive line and it's been set up quick enough that Nickname is going to be able to deal with this, and then at the very least trade very well for their team, but even more so potentially get in a position where Pink can then counter push through this. Snow Angel is sending some artillery pieces to help out with this push, which might be enough to turn the tide. 2 SAMs up here for Red, taking on these 3 helicopters, and a good amount of infantry for Teal. And we have to look back at Snow Miser, who is slowly losing this position in the mountains. And if Tama can get over the mountains, then this becomes a lot easier, since the units are going to move quicker. Really, the only thing that I think Snow Miser can do at this point is start building on the other edge of this forest and mountain range and kind of do the exact same thing, maybe even dig in a little bit. It's still 4 factories, 3 barracks from Tomahawk. Orange is low on eco, that's why some of these factories aren't actually building anything, but I think Tomahawk's done enough for their team here, dealing enough damage to Green. Nickname's still holding out. This is the strength of the cruiser that can go toe-to-toe with artillery pieces on land. Very strong. There's another cruiser on the way for Pink. There's a lot of units from Bravo team that are pushing into, or sorry, pardon me, from Alpha team that are pushing into this choke, but Nickname's still dealing with it quite well. There's this mountain range, and that Alpha team will have, like, their units would slow down. The same thing that we saw on Snow Miser's side of the map. This will take a long time for Alpha team to get through. Barracuda's got a great push going on. Certainly, Snow Angel won't be able to afford to send any more units to the right-hand side to help push against Nickname, since they will have to start dealing with Barracuda. Defensive line in front of this refinery, or this energy location. This isn't yet owned by Barracuda, but I think this defensive line would just kind of indicate this is where Barracuda would like to take that second gas, because they will need to. There's 3 helicopters, rather, there's 4 out, a 5th one on the way, and the numbers for Orange keep getting bigger, numbers for Green thinning out. Snow Miser is starting to build some eco on the other side of this, and will very likely need to, I mean, not even very likely, I think at this point all this Green production is in trouble. There's no rescue coming for Snow Miser, as this is as far as the Bravo team has been able to get. So Nickname has thinned out the units that are trying to push, and slowly building up a number of SAMs and artillery pieces for a potential counter push. Commandos are already over here. Nickname used this transport boat and has built a barracks. And that's another factory somewhere for Kartoffelmen. Very close and very aggressive. The great thing for Blue is that they're building a city that will allow them to like have all of this production. It's going to be 4 factories. So even for Blue, as long as Kartoffelmen can waste enough of Nickname's time, and Snow Angel holds in the north here, which it looks like it is, Red's doing a decent job to hold this off. Here come the helicopters. There's only 2 SAMs. The 4 to the north aren't really in position. And 4 helicopters against 2 SAMs. The helicopters would actually win this fight if they all fought at once against these SAM units. Snow Angel's going to start trying to pull back at least 1 more of the SAM units. Still an interesting situation there. Snow Miser is down to just one barracks and one factory that is actually producing units. Here is the replacement factory kind of in the mountains slash forest. It's a pretty aggressive position to put this factory. But maybe if Green just does an entrenchment line here, they'll be able to buy enough time and eco up with this town. And now Nickname has actually reinforced on Snow Miser's part of the map, so Pink could maybe put down some factories to help out against this orange push. But great play from Kartoffelman to have a city. Nickname is opening up a second front, landing right here. There's not a lot of units for blue that can defend this. And I'm interested to see if Barracuda's lost many helicopters. It looks like no at the moment. These 4 SAMs are almost in range of this helicopter, but not quite. Decent amount of artillery for Barracuda. Snow Angel is starting to reinforce this with more artillery pieces to get into the fight. And they've done a great job to dislodge Barracuda from this position and starting to push up through this forest. Barracuda's income will be relatively decent here. They have a town, they have a decent amount of territory. And I think this is a very strong play for Nickname. If Nickname can get a foothold here, it could be big trouble for Blue, who might have trouble defending from both sides if Nickname can start pushing through this gap. And then obviously with this airport, I wonder what Nickname's going to build out of this thing. But the city is, you know, relatively exposed. And big picture-wise surrounded on 3 sides by Bravo team. Good pick off from Snow Angel to get 2 of the helicopters there. I mean, this is Bravo team. Bravo team also opening up this spot, and then obviously to the north a little bit. So Kartoffelman might find themselves surrounded relatively soon, and it all comes down to how well Barracuda can make this fight happen and then defend in this tree line. Tomahawk is now nearly through the mountain and forest. That's going to be 2 factories, 2 barracks for Snow Miser. Only one of the factories is going right now. These helicopters for Nickname might actually have to go help out to the left-hand side. Pink snipes one of the industries, sending some infantry to start getting annoying and start attacking that town. Or that city, pardon me. And this is Bravo team's vision. So Nickname can't actually see that this city's been built. Might suspect it at this point. And helicopters coming in clutch until these SAMs roll up and get in range. Helicopters do a great job to destroy artillery pieces when they're deployed like this. But there might be some success that Red can find in the north. It's always difficult because Red is going to try to push into this forest, which is, it's really like Defender's advantage in general with the geography of that situation there. Here comes the relatively big fight, pretty important fight. If Tomahawk can take out Snow Miser with this army, Alpha Team will be in a great position. Tomahawk is starting to get some more economy, building this town, has 2 industries already, and starting to push a little bit to the north, at least to cap all these 3 territories. And maybe importantly, start sharing territory, like bordering territory with Red, who can then eco-share. Barracuda starts to dig in this mountain, or in this forest edge, which will likely buy enough time for Nickname to maybe get in the fight, because Pink has now moved through this defensive line and has a very decent number of infantry that have landed, even some artillery pieces. There's more infantry flooding in. It's actually 2 transport boats, more missile boats on the way for Nickname, who's gone for a helicopter and then a transport jet off these commandos, these barracks making commandos rather. A little bit of a tough situation for Snow Miser though. Any of these units that pop out of these factories are going to be immediately under fire. And it looks like Bravo team is kind of shifting the focus to try to get aggressive against blue instead of kind of helping out this part of the map with Snow Miser. Nickname's putting down factories, so the good thing is that Snow Miser will be able to well, I mean, this is the answer. Snow Miser is actually just building on this little island. Subpen, 2 airports. There's a water refinery that could be taken. Actually, a kind of cool move, because I don't think that Alpha Team is going to be able to see this, or would necessarily even expect it. And this is the vision for Alpha Team, so they don't see that Snow Miser is rebuilding here. There's 1 striker already done. And I thought for a little bit that this was... I mean, this is still a very, very close game. I thought it was probably in favor of Alpha Team. But as long as Barracuda holds this position, I think this looks very good for Bravo Team. What a game of line war. You just never know who's winning until the game's over. Move command here from Nickname with this blue command on the infantry, trying to get this infantry on top of these artillery pieces, and it is working. There's no body block from blue, so these artillery pieces are going to fall relatively quickly. Pink's artillery is already in the fight. No more reinforcements are going to show up past this army. The Nickname has started to land here. So on 3 sides, Kartoffelman's getting pushed, and this is the important part, is that there's 2 helicopters now for Nickname, which are just going to do great because blue has no SAMs. No SAMs to the south. There's 7 SAMs up north. But that's not where the helicopters are, unfortunately, for blue. Barracuda's somewhat holding, sorta. It's a great amount of SAMs for Snow Angel, moving them up to attack this helicopter. Great play. And by this point, Tomahawk's made it to this junction and is now starting to fan out units, start capping all this territory. And will over time recognize that there's a lot of units that are being built here for Bravo Team. See some good teamwork. Nickname's transport boat is moving over these green infantry to get in the fight. Snow Miser already building an airstrip, preparing for all these strikers to be built. It's gonna be a lot of strikers that Snow Miser can get up because there's no real way for Alpha Team to scout this anyway. Snow Angel nor Tomahawk have an airport that can send out a unit to scout this. There's no dock either. So no destroyers are going to kind of go close to the coast and then detect all that. Very strong push from Nickname in the north. In the south, Kartoffelman has defended, but will lose these 2 barracks. There's 4 commandos that are loose for Nickname. And so far, blue is holding on against this landing, and will probably be able to deal with this just fine. It's just going to be 4 more infantry that show up from Snow Miser. And now first airport for Tomahawk. But still no idea that there's anything on this little island. By this point, this is Alpha Team's vision, so Tomahawk has now scouted that there's an airstrip here, or an airport or something. We see a transport plane just chilling, and they can't, so it's clearly an airport or an airstrip there, a barracks and a factory. But what isn't seen is the extra factory from Snow Miser and those extra 2 barracks from Nickname, who is doing a great job pushing here. Not an impossible hold situation for blue, but certainly I think Kartoffelman would need to get defensive right now and start digging in to be able to hold this. Cruiser, you can see just taking on these artillery pieces, and it's fine for the boat. There's no other type of boat that can really do that. Missile ships and destroyers can't go toe-to-toe against artillery pieces on land. I've kind of been taking this for granted. I'm just kind of assuming that Barracuda is going to be able to hold this because of this forest and then just all the production that's behind it. It is actually 4 factories, 5 including this one in the forest. And so far, I think this is exactly what Barracuda needs to do. Snow Angel is building these 2 towns to the top left to get more eco. First helicopter on the way for Tomahawk, and Tomahawk actually building a 2nd airport. And first refinery now for Snow Miser. This is a lot of strikers that Green is going to be able to launch once this refinery is up. Commando's doing what they do best, which is being super annoying and invisible. There's not enough units for Blue to be able to detect those. In general, rule of thumb is if you have 3 units, then you'll be able to detect commandos around you. And Pink is now on top of these first 2 factories, and it is just enough units for Pink that I think Nickname is going to be able to clear at least these first 2 buildings and probably start to heavily damage the city, which is a big deal, and will pretty much knock Kartoffelman out of the game by losing that city. Nickname reinforcing this part of the map and actually doing a decent job to capture a lot of this territory. The reason why the city snipe is going to be such a big deal is because it's really the only remaining eco that Kartoffelman has left. There's not a ton of territories that Blue is actually in control of, which means less money. 4 helicopters now, a 5th one on the way for Nickname, who's starting to deal with a little bit of an energy problem. We see like the black smoke off of that transport plane. But some good teamwork, a little bit of oil sharing. At least the pipeline is connected between Barracuda and Nickname. And this is a very big fight developing between Tomahawk and a combination of Nickname and Snow Miser, who has finished this refinery, so probably can start sending out some of these planes. 1 refinery to power a full airstrip, and you know, like half full 2 other airports is not really enough. So Snow Miser's gonna have to be very careful to not overdo it with the planes to keep them flying. And I think Kartoffelman is probably in a panic situation now because this is looking pretty bad. This is a barracks in the south, just kind of rebuilding another, like having a building on the map. Once you lose all your buildings, you're knocked out of the game. City goes down, still a very sizable army for Pink, so we'll have no problem to continue pushing. And unless Tomahawk can help out Blue here, this game is over. Here comes all the strikers. Targeting 2 factories at once. Will likely get both of them just because there is that many strikers. And this is just huge value for Snow Miser and Bravo team in general. There goes that 2nd factory, and then rinse repeat. Snow Miser can just keep sending these things out. This is Bravo team's vision, so really the only thing that's... I mean, this isn't even really that threatening to this number of strikers at this point. But Snow Miser can just start clicking on every single building that Tomahawk has that's in range of these airports, which is pretty much everything. Certainly where Tomahawk started. Commandos still doing a fantastic job in the south. 3 units, so Blue can actually see these. And I guess the barracks must give a little bit of vision. Still not really paying too much attention up top. Barracuda has defended this, lost the 1 factory, but now has plenty of units to counter push. And I'm interested to see what the eco is in this game. But this is most certainly over at this point. Missile ships, this is super annoying if you're Tomahawk. Super great if you're Nickname to be able to park some missile boats here. So even if there were planes on these airports, the second that the planes take off, these missile ships just get to, you know, light them up. And there's nothing really that the planes can do, because then they have to go for a big circle and then start their attack. There's still 3 airports from Snow Miser, who's now getting help from Nickname with this refinery. And that's huge, because now these planes just can continuously go out, attacking all this industry from Tomahawk. Tomahawk's obviously like in a little bit of a 2v1 situation down in the south. And then, of course, 2v1 situation between these missile boats and strikers, and that is the game. That is the game, folks. Let's check out some graphs. That's why we're all here. It's just all been a teaser for this moment with the graphs. Empire value, 69,162, very nice. Alpha team, calculated. And income, I guess, wasn't even... Bravo team just crushing a little bit. Nickname, I guess, has a lot of income on the right-hand side. And is it mostly nickname? Yeah. Barracuda stays relatively flat, just has that war of attrition with Snow Angel. GG. Well played all. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you all for the support in whatever way that you do that. Commenting, liking, subscribing, of course. Hope you have a wonderful night, day, evening, whatever it is. We'll see you soon. Good luck on ladder. Peace.